everyone, and welcome back to Frank Film Club. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we are going to be speaking about the iconic movie, The Devil Wears Prada, which came out in 2006, and it was directed by David Frankel. I'm so excited to chat about this movie with you both. But before we get into it all, what have you been up to? How have you been? What have you been working on? How are you doing?
Been very good, thanks. Yeah, work's going well. Have some projects are moving along quite nicely, which is really exciting. And then just had a really lovely weekend, nice pubby weekend, watched some football, etc.
So lovely.
Yeah, it was good.
What about you,
I wish I could get into football, but it's just not. Any sport is just not for me.
Never, not even during the World Cup?
Sometimes the rugby.
And you get into it?
Well, don't know what's happening, but atmosphere-wise, yes, I can see it.
Rugby in Cardiff,
yeah,
when Wales are playing, is so much fun.
Yeah.
You can't not get into that if
that's
you're
true.
Out.
I haven't been doing that, though. I haven't been watching any form of sport. No. I feel like I've just come through a massive tornado of work, and now we're starting to, like, level out, and I can see above the tornado.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And it's not like, you're not just, like, reaching for football. You're like, I would like to do other things.
Oh, yeah. Now I've got some spare time. I think I'd rather not watch men running around a pitch, kicking a ball. No
Doesn't
shade.
necessarily have to be men.
Women's football.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, what have you been up to?
I have been raising money for an incredible organisation I work with, and I designed this T-shirt at Christmas, and we were selling those recently. Designed a T-shirt, very cool. And I've been working with like the amazing Maisie project, and been loving doing that, working with Mel and the team, and meeting some really, really amazing kids that the organisation helps, and it's been really fulfilling.
Nice. The T-shirts are very cool.
Glad you like them.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be like, food, but also movies.
Love that.
Well, I'm glad that you've both been good, and I'm really excited to chat about this film because it's so iconic, and it's really nice. I love it when we get to do episodes about films that have been out for a little while and that we know and love. So a little bit more information. It was written by Aline Brosh McKenna, and it's based on a book by the same novel by Lauren Weisberger. And it was directed by David Frankel, as I said earlier, starring Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci. It came out in 2006, but the book itself was optioned before the book was even finished in 2003. So Fox were very excited to get this one made, and obviously we can also see why. But first of all, what did you think on this rewatch? What did you learn? What did you learn for the first time? What did you already know about this movie? How was it?
I just realised how much I do not know about this film. I love anything which is based on the fashion industry because it's just so alien to me. I actually wanted to work in fashion before I worked in casting. As a photographer, fashion photographer. That's what I studied, was photography for fashion and advertising. And I like portraits, but I really wanted to work in the fashion industry. So anything like this, I used to lap it up. But even now watching it, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Which is also why I love Triangle of Sadness, the beginning bit of that especially. Again, as it is with a lot of old films that I used to watch, when I was a teenager, I thought, I wonder if I'm going to find any of this like really black and white, like stereotypical characters, minimizing female characters. Like, am I going to find any of that on this watch now that I'm older? But no, I just love it. I just love it.
Yeah, it is just, it's very layered, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like what did you think on this rewatch?
I feel like I have rewatched this a lot over the years anyway. Yeah. But on this rewatch, I feel like because I was thinking of it, I knew we were going to be chatting about it, so I was like, okay, what do I actually think about the themes in this film? And actually didn't really find that many things wrong with it, and actually loved the questions that it's posing. Mm-hmm. But when I watched it when I was younger, I didn't get any of that from it. But what I know I did get from it when I was younger is that it was just amazing to be able to watch a fun film when we were teenagers that wasn't a rom-com. I mean, I know it has romance in it, but it's not a love story.
It's true.
It's about these women. And I was like, that was actually really rare of that time. Like, of all the films that we grew up with, we didn't really, this is like a bit of one of a kind from what I can think of off the top of my head, of the main ones that I watched anyway. And for that reason, I'm like, I love it and would love to see more like this because it is so rewatchable.
Yeah.
I think it's probably my most rewatched film ever.
A couple of series ago, we did Legally Blonde. And I remember us chatting then about how amazing it was to see a character who was just like so driven to work hard, and it was about their career. And I hadn't really acknowledged that about this movie when I watched it when I was a kid. And this time around, like, was really like moved by a lot of the discussions in the film about like your career and what you want and like what it means and like the work-life balance. And I had never really taken that from this movie when I watched it when I was a lot younger. Like I don't really know what I loved about it. We spoke about this earlier. I don't know what I loved then, but now I feel like it really spoke to me as like a young woman who's like actually out, you know, securing bag and like, you know, getting it done. So, on that work-life balance, which of the characters do you think has got it right? Like,
that's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has got it right in this. Well,
I think it's a very personal balance. What you think is right is probably not right to somebody else.
that's true.
And like for me, to feel like fulfilled, I need to have fulfillment in my work, and that requires a lot of time. So that for me is right, but for somebody else it might be that like minimal work and that they want to spend more time on personal things. So I don't know, for me I actually think that Andy is striving for it, and I think she will eventually get it. Like, she understands like the balance, I think, a lot more than anybody else. But I don't think she has it in this film, but she will eventually.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I kind of have this strange view on like work-life balance because I really love my work so much, and it is my life. And I do, and like not in a way where it's like I can't do anything else because I spend too much time working. Like, I pick and choose all the jobs that I do. I'm in a lucky position that I get to do that. So I'm the only one to blame if it's too busy because I was the one that chose to do it. So for that reason, like, I kind of feel happiest when I'm like working a lot.
Yeah.
So I would say that Emily Charlton is like my favorite because she just like would do anything for her job.
Well, actually, if like, basing it on that, I'd say that it is actually Miranda who's doing it, because she's also like she's the boss of what she's doing, whereas I
Right,
suppose
true.
Emily
is
is
a
still
bit
kind of
beholden.
like
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like I think Miranda Priestly's got it right.
No, but like, to be fair, there are parts that like I find her character really like, I can't decide whether I sympathize with her or not. Because at times you do, and then suddenly you're just like, oh no, but you're actually just being horrible. But then you're like, oh, but this is like, oh, I don't know. When she says to Andy, well, you already did it. And then Andy's like, no, I didn't. And it's like, well, no, you kind of already did, like, stand on someone to get into a better place.
It's very layered, isn't it? She's a really interesting character. And it's really, it's not like as simple as like the goodies and the baddies and like the right decision and the wrong decision, because like, you know, even when even when Andy is like at dinner with her friends and they're all throwing her phone around and kind of like how stressed she is, like, you're really excited that she's like killing it at her job. And like, how did you feel in that moment? I'm really curious to know.
That bit really stresses me out. Like, I really feel for her.
Yeah.
Because I think I know that I'm someone who gets really, people know how to wind me up in that kind of thing. And I've definitely had that done to me before.
Triggered.
I think it's horrible because and then when she just goes mad at them, because you obviously would, because you're just like, I'm just trying to do good.
Yeah.
I feel for her in that moment.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because I was watching it like, is that justified for her to like be mad at them? Because like I know that I would act that way.
No, well, I
just don't think I think it's really rude to do that to somebody, because what is important to you? Like, say if it was like your mum calling you. I know that's really not, you can't really, that just goes to show my outlook on relationships. But I think it stresses me out because I've definitely been in that situation where I've had to run away from a table to make a phone call and you feel terrible, but like you have to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe this conversation would be a much more varied outlook if we were doing different things, because I feel like the film industry is probably not as much as the fashion industry.
But it's like definitely similarities where it's like all or nothing kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether we're like best placed to talk about work-life balance, because
No.
we would run away from the table to take any phone call.
I
So,
know.
you know, but yeah, no, I thought it was really disrespectful, and I wasn't on their side at all when they were doing that. It's rude.
Yeah. You said that you like grew up being very fascinated with the fashion industry.
Yeah.
One of my favorite speeches from this movie is like the beginning one where Andy's kind of like, I don't know anything about this stuff. And then Miranda's like, this stuff, like, you know, it involves you every day, what you wear when you wake up in the morning, like the image that you want to project. Did this film like make you view fashion any differently, or have you always kind of felt that way about like how important fashion is every single day?
I think when I was younger, that's what I really enjoyed about this, because I wanted to work in fashion, and actually now probably a bit more jaded by that. And I still very much respect the fashion industry and think it's really important. And what's important to some people is, you know, that's their career, so it is important. But yeah, I think I'd probably change the other way from watching it all being older.
Yeah.
You know.
What did you think about that?
I feel like, well, I know watching it makes me want to, it does make me appreciate fashion more, because I'm definitely someone who's like, would be like, oh, I'll just wear whatever. But then actually when it comes to it, if I've got to go to a party on Friday this week,
Beautiful purple.
then like I would actually panic and be like, oh my God, I have no clothes, and then would feel shit. And like, so I do understand that you have to wear clothes every day, and like it does actually make such a difference. And then when they like, there's a lot of speeches throughout the film that like really are like, this is why fashion is amazing and why it is an art. And I get it, and I was like, oh, actually I feel like I don't give it the appreciation it needs, although it is like an expensive thing as well. Like not everyone can just like have really amazing clothes, but it really I definitely do really appreciate it because of this film.
Yeah, I think that was what I was kind of learning, is just like more about like the fashion world and like the way that it's kind of structured, I guess, and like the way that people view like their career. I have a stylist now who used to work in Vogue.
Oh.
And she talks about it kind of like this. I mean, Lauren's book is based on her experience being a assistant at Vogue.
Okay. To
Anna Wintour.
No way.
So it is like based on her.
Yeah, like loosely, you know.
Yeah,
in lots of ways. So I found it really interesting, like having this really like an inside look at like what it's like to work at a, you know, really successful fashion magazine, and it seems pretty authentic.
Did you see the September issue?
No.
Which
the
was
documentary?
Yeah.
I never saw it, no.
It feels like that. Everyone's running around, and it feels like that very high pace, high pressure, mind who you speak to and the way you speak to them sort of environment, like super hierarchical. And I know it's like that in a lot of industries, but like very unspoken, but you must know when you come through this door who you need to answer to, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good documentary. But it's right what she's saying, like the influence of what we're doing might seem so trivial to you, but it tapers down and does dictate like little miniature, like, I don't know, like sets of people who like punks or whatever.
Yeah, subcultures.
Subcultures, that's what I mean.
Identity, belonging. Like I always loved fashion, but then I also could see the side of it where it's like, but is any of this really important? Like, you know, like there's bigger things in the world. But actually I think like our identity and like wanting to belong to something is like integral to like us as people, and I think that is expressed and defined through fashion like every single day.
Yeah.
So like I do see the argument that it's like, you know, this like trivial movie about fashion, haha, let's all laugh at everyone, but like I do kind of get like the thing that Stanley Tucci kind of like speaking, Nigel speaking about yeah, like who he was when he was growing up and like why like it's so impactful to him. I think it's got a really good message at the heart of it, this film. Yeah. I think that it was also why it's lasted and it's like held up so well, because there's more than just like the fun, and like when it's funny it's hilarious, but there's also like kind of little tear-jerk moments that are like really heartfelt. So let's talk about the casting.
Yeah.
Talk about the cast. They approached Meryl Streep to play Miranda Priestly, like immediately knew that she was who they wanted to play her, and she turned it down.
Oh,
yeah,
no way.
But then
they cloned her.
No, she turned it down. But she didn't because they didn't offer, kind of in like good Miranda Priestly fashion, they didn't do a very good offer, and so she started to like step into her own as an actress and like demanding the sort of pay that she wanted, and like went back and asked for basically double the fee, and they were like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it.
Oh my god.
Who do you think they originally wanted to cast as Andy?
This was after Princess Diaries, obviously.
Yeah, right after Princess Diaries.
Right after it.
Yeah, I think Princess Diaries came out in like 2003.
I don't know, yeah, maybe.
I was trying to think who was like the thing.
Yeah, that's a good way of going around it. Yeah.
2003.
Not like Hilary Duff or like Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, you're getting close. Okay, she was in a movie with Lindsay Lohan around that time.
Amanda Fox.
No, really close. It's Rachel McAdams, who played Regina George. Yeah. So at the time, like she was sort of she had just come out of Mean Girls, and I think she just came out of Mean Girls, but yeah, and was sort of just like really like in an interesting spot, but she wanted to take her career in a different place, and then Anne Hathaway auditioned, and she'd done Princess Diaries and had done a lot of things that skewed a lot younger, like audience wise, and they weren't sure if like something like this was going to work like in the market, you know. But I mean, it did. It was absolutely amazing. She auditioned and she really desperately wanted it and killed it and played Andy perfectly. Couldn't imagine anyone else as her.
She is really good in it.
That's really funny to like think of how different that would be, because Anne Hathaway is so naturally wholesome, and Rachel McAdams has played characters like that for sure. But I think it would have felt a lot more adult, actually.
What, with Rachel McAdams?
Yeah.
There's something really playful about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But she turned it down, you said?
Yes.
Cool.
She turned it down. I think, and then she went on to do like the Time Travelers. I think she was really trying to move more into like drama, you know? Cool. Yeah. Which is so interesting because Anne Hathaway became like this like drama actress, you know, like, yeah. I think, and it's interesting to think that she kind of started out on like Princess Diaries and things like this that are like way more skewed towards like comedy. Yeah, hadn't really acknowledged that before.
I feel like she's having a bit of a resurgence at the moment as well. Like,
what's she doing at the moment?
Well, she did We Crashed,
which I loved.
Yes, amazing,
so good. But I don't know. I feel like she like culturally, I feel like a lot of people are loving her at the moment, and I feel like she sort of went away for a few years.
Yeah,
or she was always around, but like wasn't as much of a like top name.
Yeah,
she's so. I mean, this is not the most amazing thing about her, but she's so beautiful, like incredible to look at. Great actor.
Incredible.
Anne Hathaway actually like gained and lost. Let's wait for this. Can you believe that?
Wait, is she actually?
Yeah, she sort of yo-yoed for the film. Like I guess she gained and then she lost and then went back to normal. I don't know.
One bit that I was a bit like, ooh, was when her and Nigel were celebrating his potential promotion or new partnership, and then he said, "Oh, you look fab. Oh, size 6," and she goes, "No, 4," and then they cheers to that, and I was like, oh,
There was a
you
lot
didn't
of
need
weight
to do-
chat.
Yeah, and like I get it when it could be laughed at. Like, well, no, I don't really get it. When it was like, oh, that's just the industry, and the industry, like, laughing at the industry for having that thought. But then when she also got on board with it and it kept on going, and she was like, yeah, I have lost weight, I'm like,
I was kind of surprised that it didn't have it in more, though. I don't know. If it's about fashion and it was made in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I was surprised that there wasn't more chat about it.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of the chat about it. I didn't think it was like necessary at all.
It feels icky when you're watching it, the weight chat, but that was so prevalent in the fashion industry now. I wonder what it's like now, though, the fashion industry, because it is still models. I know there's a lot more diversity with, you know, magazine and shoots like that, but runway still feels very small.
Yeah. It's kind of got a little bit more dangerous now because people still feel like everyone should be a certain way, be super skinny, but they just talk about it like behind models' backs or like like online, but like when no one's, you know what I mean? When it's public facing, it's like, we're inclusive, but like, I think yeah.
So you wouldn't get a job because maybe you're the wrong size. And back in the day, the agent might be like, you should just think about losing a bit and get more work. But now that doesn't happen, but they just don't get the jobs and they just fall off.
I see.
Yeah, it can be that way. I mean, there's definitely like newer designers that are coming in and they're like actually more inclusive with the way that they cast. But in terms of like the prestigious part of the industry, I think that there's like a less willingness to grow and adapt and change.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that in the film industry as well.
Totally.
Though.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's slowly like sort of leading out.
Yeah. Can we talk about the love interests and the boyfriend?
Yes.
CV
I'm so
play?
glad. I forget his name.
Nate?
Christian and Nick. Oh my God. I hate Christian. I've
hate
always hated
Christian.
him. All of his scenes make my skin crawl.
Yeah, he's grim. And you know that he's doing that to like a lot of women.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, what about that, like, I can't remember the words, when they're in Paris.
Yeah.
And she's, like, saying all these excuses, and then she's like, I just, like, she's like, now I've run out of, like, she's saying no a million different ways, basically, and then she's like, I've run out of excuses. And then they just start kissing, and I was like, this feels really wrong.
Yeah. That was one thing that I know when I was younger, I always hated him even then.
Yeah.
Which is good that I knew that was a bad thing.
Yeah. What do you think about Nate? What do you think about that relationship? And do you think that he's holding her back? Do you think that he is right to be upset?
I think it's unfair of him to be so angry. Like, he doesn't actually seem supportive of this career path for her at any point. And I understand, or maybe he does.
A little. I think he does. I think he's more, this is like what I took. Maybe he's like he's more offended that she's changing, which I find like problematic a bit.
That is true, actually. Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I don't like the clothes, don't like the...
Because it seemed like he always wanted her to have a great job, but then as soon as she did, he was like finding all these other reasons not to like it.
Yeah.
Especially when the way that she explains it to her dad is like, I need to just do this for a year and then I can get a job anywhere. And surely she would have said that to him. And for him to be totally unsupportive is rubbish. I think the thing for me on this watch that I was more like, was that he was like, you're changing your whole life for your job. But then he was like, hey, I got a job in Boston, but you can come with me.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, for your job, no, you can't change. But actually, pick up sticks and move across the country with me to go. I don't know if it is across the country. Boston, they were going to?
It's like just a state or two across.
Well, I just thought, you're a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually realised that.
There's, like, a lot of stuff online about him being, like, the real villain of Devil Wears Prada. What do you think about that?
I don't know that he's like full villain, but I think he's a bit of an antagonist. Well, he's definitely an antagonist, 100%.
Yeah.
But he is also standing up for when she's annoyed about Miranda being an absolute dick, he supports her in that, and it's like, yeah, she has been a dick to you. So that's kind of nice of him. But then there's also like the things we've just said. Like,
yeah. Like if I was going to play devil's advocate and try and see it from his perspective, like I guess if your significant other was really, really, really stressed out at work and like weren't enjoying the things that they used to enjoy and like had to just like do all of these things and go above and beyond for their boss and like continually complain to you about it, which she does, like she really makes it his problem too. And then you give advice being like, maybe you just like shouldn't do it anymore. I mean, that's not validating maybe how like good the good days are. So it's not necessarily the answer. But like it would be kind of hard to have a significant other where you're like, this is what's wrong, this is what I think you should do, and then they just keep saying no, I'm not going to do it. You'd be a bit like, well then I can't help you, so can you stop complaining about it and like let's have dinner.
Yeah, that is very fair enough.
Yeah. But at the same time, I do feel like he doesn't really try to like put himself in her shoes or like understand why she's so driven, why she loves it, like what she sees. He kind of just starts playing like how Andy used to play and being like, you don't even like clothes. So, and I think that like you're allowed to just change and grow in relationships. They're just not good for each other afterwards. Maybe they were good before, but like now that Andy like has maybe just like bigger expectations for her career, it's like not worth it anymore. It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
As well.
What did you think about her, like about her changing her image for the job?
Is
like
it,
having this makeover.
Like, is it anti-feminist to be like, I loved it?
No, I think that's actually quite great because she does like come alive.
She feels amazing.
Yeah.
She looks amazing. She feels amazing. Yeah.
Because that's something that was a big question this time watching it. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, you would feel so fab if you were wearing those amazing clothes every day. I don't know how she was getting all those clothes the whole time. Maybe they just get like given to it. I don't know. But like you would feel amazing and it doesn't make you any less of a feminist at all.
No.
Yeah. I just thought we actually haven't said about Emily Blunt.
Yeah, Emily Blunt, who plays Emily Charlton.
I thought she was absolutely fabulous in this.
So good.
Yeah.
She's really,
so
really
good.
spectacular.
The Stanley Tucci and Emily Blunt, they met on this film, right? Yeah. And now Emily Blunt's sister is married to Tucci.
Yeah, I love that.
I think because of this movie, Stanley went to Emily's wedding to John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah.
And it was there that he met her sister, and then now they're in love.
That's so lovely.
I know. Okay, any guesses on the budget? Ooh, how much they spent?
Well, I feel like because we know old Meryl upped her fee a bit, maybe we're looking at big uns. Like,
it was Fox. It was a studio movie.
Ooh.
They optioned the book before it even came out. Like it was, but it was 2006 as well. So
30, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 20.
I'm thinking in the 30s.
Oh,
you go.
I'm going to say 30.
I'll go 35.
41.
Oh,
41.
Blimey.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
41 million for this absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
But guess how much it took at the box office? This is amazing. Like one could only dream of making a hit this good.
300 million. Is it?
Yeah, ding ding ding.
Is it?
327 million.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Oh wow.
Great gains.
Yeah, so good. So it was obviously a smash and everyone loved it. As I said earlier, they optioned the book before it had even come out. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2015, 2014, the author wrote a sequel to her book.
Oh.
And it was called When Life Gives You Lululemons. How good is that?
That is so funny.
And of course, when it came out, everyone was like, oh my God, are they going to do a sequel? Are they going to bring it back? But I think the studio and David Frankel and the writer Aline were like, we don't know if it really makes sense. But recently I've been hearing more chats from like, I think people have been asking Emily Blunt and Anne Hathaway in interviews, like, would you come back and do it again? Do you think that they should do another one? What do you think they should explore? How do you think we show progression? Yeah.
I don't know.
I would love for them to do another one and them, well, in the title it sounds like they're talking about different parts of fashion. Like Lululemon is
athleisure,
Yeah.
yoga pants kind of things.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see some other aspects of fashion that are more like discussed now, but maybe not as sexy. I'm like thinking about like sustainability and like workforce and like people working like cheap labor and all that stuff. But I'm sure that's not as like entertaining. Maybe. But I would love that, and I would love to see something about how things have changed for the characters, obviously, but for the fashion industry as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I like that. Going more of the approach of like how the world has changed.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. No, completely agree on that. But also, it is like they did it so well in Devil Wears Prada that it is like sometimes it's like just don't touch it. But at least it wouldn't just be like the Devil Wears Prada 2.
Yeah,
and it sounds like it's like a bit of a separate story in itself. It's not like a full-on remake, I would guess, from that.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't read the Lululemon's one. I don't think it did quite as well, but still exciting. So I don't know who the designer is, the costume designer for this film. So don't ask. But for the costumes for the film, it was really hard to get designers to commit to lending clothes because no one wanted to upset Anna Wintour herself.
Oh, yeah.
And it ended up being Prada that like first initiated like conversations with the movie and lending clothes, and then slowly other designers started to warm up to the idea, but everyone was terrified. How cool is that?
Well, how was it received by Anna Wintour and Vogue?
Well, she went to the premiere.
Oh.
So pretty good. And guess what? She wore Prada.
Oh, right.
Oh.
So she really
love
embraced
that.
it.
Okay,
She really
cool.
embraced it.
Yeah.
However, because Lauren used to work at her office, I think she managed to get like the art designer, the art director or someone in there, but they recreated Anna's office so perfectly that after she watched the movie, she went and redecorated the whole thing.
That's really funny.
Oh, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But she warmed up to it, and I think like her and Meryl Streep had this kind of viral moment on the Vogue, on the Condé Nast YouTube channel recently, or like a few years ago. And yeah, I think like now, I mean, it's such an iconic movie, but no one knew if it was going to be great, if it was going to be like mean, derogatory, like whatever. And it's like so iconic, and it's like, you know, accurate in lots of ways that I think now it's like a badge of honor for Anna Wintour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she was definitely like not happy about it sort of
Okay.
being made at the beginning.
So mad. Yeah, I feel like as much as it shows her in a lot of different lights, but ultimately like you are kind of like, well, you like what you're doing. You're obviously pretty sick at it.
Yeah,
You
I
go,
feel
girl.
like I fully understood her.
Mm.
Like the way that she delivers what she delivers as well. There's a tone to her voice that is so terrifying, so calm, so like I've seen it all before. It's perfectly pitched.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just understood. She's really busy.
Yeah,
She's a busy lady.
I know. No nonsense.
So that was so lovely to chat about that movie. What are your final thoughts?
I'm really glad I've watched this film again. It brought back so many memories of young Hannah wanting to do fashion stuff. And I really appreciate knowing more about that through this film. And I think you hit the nail on the head, or maybe it was you at the beginning. This film is really great because it's not a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
And that it did so well. And it's about a woman working out a work-life balance. And yeah, I loved it.
I agree. Yeah, I just love rewatching this film. I watched it with Ron, who hadn't really seen it before, and he was like, his review was, "We'll probably watch again." So
Strong.
it's definitely a rewatchable.
Yeah.
And also, I just love the song that it opens with. I was so excited when it opened. Suddenly, you know the one?
Katie Tunstall.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was so many good songs in it.
Yeah,
There's
it's got a
another
good
one there
soundtrack.
as well. It's got a great soundtrack.
So yeah, great time all around. What about you?
I really love watching this film. I love it more after watching it recently. I think like there's just so much more in it that like I love, and that I'm like I feel seen and recognized. Yeah, whereas before it was just like I felt I guess I thought it was more of like a rom-com before. I didn't think it was like as meaningful or impactful. Had a really, really great time watching it.
It's funny because it's another Anne Hathaway makeover, which is like a recurring thing.
Yeah,
in
it's
her
like always
films.
her thing.
Yeah.
What is everyone's obsession with like making her over?
Yeah.
Like, now she's beautiful. She is beautiful.
Now she is valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny. To round it all off, I know that you guys have also done the BuzzFeed, which
Yes.
Devil Wears Prada character are you? But I thought it would be fun for us to guess what the other person's result is going to be before we reveal what our results were.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with Hannah.
Oh, don't.
I
think this is because you messaged being like, I audibly gasped when I got my result.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that, see?
So because of that, I'm thinking Miranda.
Yeah, I'm thinking Miranda.
Was that what you were going
too.
to say as
Yeah.
well? Yeah. And why were you going to say that? Because of that, or because you think that
Well, because,
I'm a bitch.
because I think that
you get shit done?
No, yeah, you like work insanely hard. Like I've never seen anything like it. Like you're in what you do in casting, you really are managing multiple jobs at the same time, even though it's all casting. Like you work with so many different people, and then you work with all of the actors as well. You have your own company, like it's you and it's Bridget. I find it, and so for that reason, I'm just like, I feel like your work ethic is Miranda Priestly.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really nice complimentary way of giving me Miranda. I do respect Miranda, and I got Miranda. I absolutely got it. It was weird though, because when I was answering the questions, I was like, I'm definitely going to be Miranda. I'm not mad at it. I'm fine with
No,
that.
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm nicer than her. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, she's not like the villain until the end, her final line. But if they had her final line as something else, like you're constantly like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
She loves what she does.
Love it.
Okay, what about Larry?
I
What
think
were all of the options? Was it just the
don't
big
know.
four? Nigel, Emily, Andy, Miranda.
yeah, I think it was.
I think so. Yeah.
I think you're an Andy.
I was.
What did you think?
I don't know. Well, I was gonna say Emily or Andy. Well, or Stanley. I don't know. But like,
Emily.
why? I don't know why. To be honest with you, just because like I think you're really like on it. And whereas Andy kind of reminds me of someone that's like, I don't know what I want, and I don't get that from you at all. But like also like I feel like me being like, yeah, I think you're like Emily is like also not a good thing either. So
I think you're like Andy because Andy has a very pure soul and she wants to do good and she's very driven if she puts her mind to something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that of you actually is that the way that you work is very ethical, very hardworking,
yeah.
and you just there's no like fuss. You just like I'll just get on with whatever it is that I need to do.
It's true.
Yeah.
You do. And also you're like, everyone loves to work with you.
Yes.
You're not like, there's no malice, malicious, like, everyone loves to spend time with you.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
true.
I got Emily.
Did you? I'm surprised.
That's so funny.
What does it say?
It was like you're like driven to do what you want to do, and like you'll like get it done if you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
BuzzFeed is
you're
correct.
selfish.
Not correct on that point, but yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's so funny.
Okay,
Okay,
Maze.
Okay.
You're Tooch for sure. You're Nigel.
I'm between Andy and Nigel for you.
Ooh. Okay, why?
I think Andy for the same reasons that you've just complimented me with, actually. Yeah, all of those same reasons. And then Nigel kind of similar again. I think he's actually really wholesome, but it's like a little bit more like straight. He's like, all right, less
Yeah.
of the nonsense though.
Yeah, and he's, but also like the thing is with Emily is that she does it because she's like also wants to please people. But then with Nigel, like he kind of is like happy. He's like
Yeah.
confident in himself.
It's that. So the same thing that I said about Larry, but there's like a confidence and an ease. No,
Yeah.
you haven't got that. Sorry, Larry.
I would actually take it all back. I feel like you're a Nigel. I would have said Nigel actually.
My dad will be
But-
thrilled, as he is called
Yeah.
Nigel.
Nigel. This is my daughter, Nigel. Hi, I'm Nigel. Okay, I got Emily too.
Oh, yay!
I've got really sweaty right now.
Yeah, got Emily as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
that's nice.
that's great.
Yeah.
Love that you got the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it. I don't mind. I am older.
Fantastic. Well, it was just the classic BuzzFeed, which character are you? So go and do that yourselves.
Yeah.
Tell us what you got.
Yeah, tell us what you got. And thank you for listening.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Next week, we're going to be talking about Blonde, which is a film directed by Andrew Dominik. It's available to watch on Netflix, although I would recommend that you check the trigger warning before watching it. But if you have a watch, I hope you enjoy, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
This podcast was presented by Wrapped.